What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Wait till they get a load of me.
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me at your next event. I'm so excited to play for the people. And speaking of playing for the people, I got the guitar man coming up in the program, Jesse Huffman. Who's Jesse Huffman? Well, you're going to find out more about him in the next few minutes, so stick around for that. This week's shows, yes, as we record this in April of 2020, there are no public shows. There are no private shows due to the novel COVID-19 coronavirus. I hope everybody's taking care of themselves out there. As far as I can see, and I know this is just my opinion, with very minimal medical training in my history, I think it's a pretty bad flu, and I hope that everybody's doing reasonably well. I know there's been a few deaths out there, and the flu does take a few deaths every year, but I hope that for the most part, we get through this. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it with Jesse Huffman. Calling Jesse Huffman now.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Jesse Huffman, please.
You got me?
Oh, fantastic. It's Keys Dan with the What Makes You Famous podcast. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm super duper. As good as I can be. I get to talk to interesting folks all day long. And one of those interesting folks is you, Mr. Jesse Huffman. Tell the folks a little bit about who you are.
Well, I'm a retired truck driver, and I was a minister for 8 years. And I'm also a clean amphetamine addict and a sober alcoholic, but clean and sober 15 years.
That is a story to tell in itself, man. You've given us some avenues to go by. Jesse Huffman, you've come from a hard beginning, a humble beginning. It says, I'm looking at your bio on your SoundCloud or your Reverb Nation. That's if I get that better. Jesse Huffman, country, rockabilly, old time rock and roll, old time gospel, primitive country. From Jonesboro, Arkansas, man, and your songs, your sound, just it reflects everything that I just said in your little bio. But let's go back, man. Tell the people a little bit how Jesse Huffman started, and we got to go through that addiction. I think people could learn a little bit from you, Mr. Jesse Huffman. Tell the people a story about you.
I started born in California, grew up in Arkansas, and I grew up in Jerusalem, Arkansas.
Okay. What part of California are you from?
Crescent City.
And whereabouts is that? I don't know geography that well.
It's the last town on Highway 101 before you get to the Oregon line.
All right. So you were up in the north. Okay. So that part of California is more mountains and maybe vinelands. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's where the redwood big timber is.
Oh, yeah. How was it growing up there?
Well, we stayed there till I was 6, and then we moved back to Arkansas where my folks were from.
Okay.
And it was nice. It rains there, 365 inches of rain a year.
That's a whole lot different than Southern California, where it rains not at all. I think there's 200 dry days a year. It's amazing how big that state is. And I guess they're all quarantined right about now as we speak. 40 million people in that one state. My goodness. So, all right. Well, I guess your parents were the ones that had you there. Tell me about your folks growing up in California and then in Arkansas.
My dad was a timber worker.
Oh.
Ran a sawmill business and logging business. And my mother was a school teacher.
I like that, man. I like that hardworking man and a lady that's teaching the kids of the future. How was it growing up with a hardworking man? What did you learn from your dad?
A lot of hard work and to try to be as honest as possible.
Hey, those are good values to instill. And then you had a teacher as a mom. What grades did she teach?
She taught K through 8.
Okay. So how was she growing up? And did you ever have to have her as a teacher?
Yeah, I had her as a teacher before she ever started teaching. She would always help us with homework and stuff. And she went back to school after being out of high school 26 years and clipped out of 38 hours of college program.
That's a smart lady right there. Yeah, you not only got the street smarts from dad, the hard working part, but you got the book smarts from mom. That's fantastic. That sounds like a good upbringing. Now you said you got brothers and sisters?
I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and everybody's gone now, but me and my brother just older than me.
Okay, so you still have one brother that's still hanging on. That's good. You stay close to your brother?
Yeah, sometimes we get on the phone, we talk for an hour.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. Jesse Huffman telling stories. So you could brag on the family. What did your brothers and sisters do, and how close were you? And did you have a lot of family gatherings, or did you guys spread out over this this nation of ours?
Well, 4 of us live right there on the same 2.5 acres as mom and dad did.
I like that. Close family and a lot of get-togethers growing up.
Yeah, a lot of it. And my oldest brother was born in 42, and then about 3 years later, and then 4 years later, there was 4 boys and 2 girls.
Oh, fantastic, man! And so you got a lot of family that's still around, like nieces and nephews, maybe, or you got any kids of your own?
A lot of nieces and nephews.
Any kids of your own?
Yeah, I got 1 son.
Look at you, procreating. Fantastic. All right, my man. Well, it says here you were born in Crescent City in 1955, and you moved to Arkansas in 61, and you were a truck driver. How did you get into that?
Well, I kind of inherited it. Dad was a truck driver. Being a freight relocator goes all the way back to when Teamsters were really Teamsters in my family.
So you'd say you were a union man?
No, I wasn't a union man. I was independent.
Okay. So you had your own truck then?
Yeah, I had my own truck for 20 years.
Now, did you ever have to work for anybody else?
Yeah, I worked for a company for 6 years.
Okay. So what's the difference between being a trucker that works for a company and then one that works for yourself, Mr. Huffman?
When you work for yourself, you have the first, last, and only say there is. When you work for a company, you got to do what you're told.
Absolutely. I mean, but do you get all the profits, I guess, if you work for yourself, but then you have to take care of your own equipment as well, do you?
Yeah, you got to take care of your own equipment as well. The biggest difference is you like you said, you get all the profits yourself, but you have to save that money in case something breaks.
I'm getting a little perspective. People that listen to this podcast, they like to learn from folks. I like to learn from folks, so whenever I get a chance to talk to somebody, whatever their area of expertise is, I definitely like to learn about that, man. And I know I have some brother-in-laws that have been truckers, and they've told me a little bit about how it is owning their own truck. Now, did you do cross-country trucking or local? Were you home every night, or were you away most of the time?
I ran all 48 states in Canada and Mexico.
Amazing. What kind of stuff did you haul?
We hauled everything from gunpowder to produce and vegetables.
And see, and people got to know that truck drivers are the lifeblood of this country and really the world, because airplanes will get it one place, but the truck driver is the one that's going to get it right to you, right to your grocery store, right to your hardware store, whatever supplies you need. You got to know, you got to count on the truck driver. So I give you respect for being a truck driver all that time. That's fantastic, Mr. Huffman. Now, but beyond,
I appreciate it.
Oh, but beyond that, you started playing music as well. Did you do that in high school?
I started it when I was 6 years old.
Come on. That's great. What instrument did you pick up when you were 6 years old?
Guitar.
Guitar. Now, who gave you your first guitar?
And my dad.
And how did he know, and how did you know that you wanted to play guitar?
Well, all the other boys in the family played, and Dad played, and his dad played about everything you could pick up. And Dad had a brother-in-law named Troy Yeager that was always playing music, and Uncle Troy would sit there and play and sing and everything. And one day I told my dad I wanted to learn to play the guitar, and he said, "Okay, I'll give you my old one." He took the strings off of it and told me to follow his finger movements until I learned to make the chords and to keep time by tapping on top of the guitar with my other hand. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, then he put strings on the guitar and I just started playing.
I think your dad was a very smart man, not letting you play the guitar until you learn how to play the guitar, because you could have just been making lots of noise throughout the house and disturbing everybody around you. I think he was real smart, putting no strings on there and just teaching you how to work the chords and with your fingers. I think there was underlying.
Just follow my fingers and follow the chords, and said when you get to where you can change chords and stuff, that we'll put strings on it, and he did.
Yeah. How did it feel putting those first strings on there?
Oh, it felt great.
Yeah. And were you able to play straight away since you had all that former training before that without the strings?
Yeah.
What kind of songs were you playing back then?
Stuff like Joe LeBlond, steel guitar rag on a 6-string box, and You're Cheating Heart, things like that.
Oh yeah. Was there a lot of music in the house? People playing the radio, maybe having some 12 inches on the platters. Some plays on the turntable. Did you have a record player in the house?
No.
What's that?
There was always something going on.
Always something playing. What were what things on the radio that you were listening to at the time or watching on television as you were growing up?
The first thing every morning I had to watch the Blue Angels.
Is that the Blue Angels, the Navy pilots, I guess, or Air Force?
The Navy pilots.
Navy pilots, right. And they had where were the Blue Angels at?
They were stationed, I forgot the name of the base, but it was in California then.
Oh, and they had a television show that showed them.
Yeah, every morning when the TV station come on air, they show the Blue Angels flying.
Yeah, for those folks that are listening that aren't of a certain age, TV wasn't 24 hours. TV used to get off at a certain time because people had to go to bed, and then it would start up at a certain time. So maybe around midnight they'd play the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem, and then in the morning they'd play something else, a little maybe of national quality, just to give you some something to get you started throughout the day. And Mr. Jesse Huffman, you started with the Blue Angels, man. That's something to see as you wake up in the morning as a young lad, and that gets you going throughout the day. And is that that's the thing you saw, and then you went off to school?
Yeah, and we had Jack McNamara Naval Air Station there at Crescent City where we lived when I was a kid, and they had the F-4 Phantom jets there, and I forgot how many, but there were several. They were flying all the time, and they had the big Chinook helicopters and a Coast Guard station there, and I'd always know when they were going to be flying out with the helicopters and leaving the base because I could hear them start when they'd go to turn the rotors on them to start.
Man, that's some life lesson right there. I know I grew up in Miami, South Florida, real close to Homestead Air Force Base, and I got to see the airplanes take off and land quite a few times. And my grandfather worked at the airport, so I got into making model airplanes. Were you into anything like that?
Yeah, I got into the F4s and the F103s.
Oh, fantastic, man. I used to make them and put them up all over my room using some filament wire and just pretend they were flying over my head. So, yeah.
Yeah, We got a lot in common that way.
I think we do, man. And you got a love for music. I definitely have a love for music. And the old timey music, you call it old timey, but that's stuff you grew up with. A lot of people would say, oh, you listen to classic rock. Well, that's stuff I grew up with. But the stuff you grew up with is, that good country, that good rockabilly, that good old time rock and roll and the gospel. Your dad was playing, your grandpa was playing. I fully believe it's in the blood. And then you were a preacher man. How long did that last?
8 years.
8 years. And that was out there in Arkansas?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, how did that go? How was your congregation? And how did you keep your flock together?
We built a church, and I was at that church that we built for 8 years, and I left and went back to using and drinking and drugging again. And then I come back and stayed another 8 years.
Well, you say again. When did the drinking and drugging actually start? Was that in school?
Yeah.
And like high school?
Yeah, I started in high school.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize when you're in a small town, there's not much to do. Sometimes you could fall into the wrong crowd. Is that the way it went for you, Mr. Jesse Huffman?
Yeah, Dan, and I have Indian ancestry. And it was a pertinent thing to try to avoid with the alcohol use because the American Indians are natural alcoholics.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to get that reference. I did work in Miami, and I have heard tell of Native Americans that they do fall into alcoholism, and I think there's a reason for that. It's because they get they're entitled to some money from the government, and it seems like if you get what with the money, the thing I heard was each Native American would get up to $100,000 a year, and that's a pretty good salary for for just being. And
most of the Native Americans average about $1,000 a month.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's not quite as much, 12,000 a year, but still, if you got an extra 12,000, you might use that for the wrong thing. Hopefully, you learn from the mistakes of others and go off and do something useful with it. But so you had some problems with drugs and drinking, but you found the Lord, and what religion were you preaching?
Assembly of God.
Assembly of God. Now, how does that work? Is that a lot of singing, or I've never been to an Assembly of God church?
You've been to a Pentecostal church?
Okay, I'm familiar with a Pentecostal. Speaking in tongues, maybe?
Yeah, and the Pentecostal and the Assembly is just about the same.
So no music then, right?
Yeah, a lot of music.
Oh, a lot of music. Okay. Well, I like that. Because David sung unto the Lord, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he danced.
The assemblies sing choruses, and the Pentecostal sing choruses, and sometimes you'll have church for 4 hours and be nothing but a song service.
Oh my goodness! even during football season.
Yeah, even during football season.
Well, you being out there in Jonesboro, that's what is that? That's Red Wolves, right?
Yeah, it's the Red Wolves.
Okay. Did you ever when you got out of high school? Did you ever go into any college, or you go straight to truck driving?
And I worked as a grocery clerk when I first got out of high school. Then I went to being an aerospace machinist until I got old enough for the insurance companies to cover me. And then I went to truck driving.
Okay. Well, I mean, bagging groceries is pretty cool, but aerospace, what is that? Tell me about that.
Lattice Company. We made everything from parts from heat shield tiles for space shuttles to pipe fittings that were 3/4 of an inch, all the way out to elbows and T's and weldable pipe fittings big enough for you to stand up in.
Mr. Jesse Huffman, see, there's a little tidbit of information. Now, when when the space shuttle took off, did you feel a sense of pride that maybe some of your parts were on that thing as it was flying off into space?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I'm sure you're watching television because I know when the space shuttle used to take off in the 80s, and I used to just look at it with a sense of awe. But you must have had that extra special sense because you actually made parts that might have been on that ship. How amazing is that?
And I helped build the factory there in Russellville, Arkansas, and then came back and went to work in it and stayed till I was supervisor.
Is that factory still in Russellville?
Yes, sir.
Is that aluminum place on Elmira?
No, this one, the one you're talking about is across the road from Lattice. It's called Trinity now.
Okay. See, I'm not sure about that one. I know Russellville pretty well. I get to drive around there quite a bit, and I do some shows up there, karaoke and such. But yeah, I know that they make a lot of aluminum parts, and there's a lot of businesses in Arkansas that people don't know about. It's not just Walmart and Tyson Chicken. There's a lot of little places you might not even know about, such as you said Trinity that makes parts for NASA and the space shuttle, amongst other things. Jesse Huffman.
And they make gear rings for Caterpillar.
Gosh, that's amazing. See,
and weldable pipe fittings from 3/4 inch all the way out to 6 foot size.
Okay, I think there's a Hackney Laddish that.
Laddish, Ladish.
I just went by there today, in fact, and I saw their big pipes, big green pipes that you could fit through, probably 30-inch or more, in diameter. Oh, okay. Yeah. I know exactly where that's at. All right, put that on the walking tour as you go through.
Yeah.
Hackney Laddish on Elmira in Russellville, Arkansas. Yeah, people are gonna be driving by, going, "Oh, I remember that. That's when Jesse Huffman was talking about."
We worked hard there.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that to be true. All right, so you were playing guitar from 6 years old, and did you play guitar, for your family, for your friends, for your church?
Yeah, for anybody I could get to listen.
I mean, did you ever play professionally, where you would go off and do some gigs, maybe?
Yeah, my brother and I and 3 or 4 other guys played every night, 6 nights a week in town when I was working where I was working local.
Oh, well, what kind of gigs were you doing? You had a whole band playing.
It was a jam session every night, 6 nights a week.
That's fantastic. And who was the clientele, and how did they appreciate what you were doing? And did you have merchandise that sold?
They appreciated it, and most of them were family.
Okay. So, I mean, the response had to be good. Family's always going to back you up most of the time. That's good. But, did the band have a name?
Mama's Fruit Jar Drinkers.
Mama's what?
Fruit Jar Drinkers.
Mama's Food Jar Drinkers.
Mama's Fruit Jar Drinkers.
I suspect some listeners out there in the Arkansas area might even remember Mama's Fruit Jar Drinkers.
Yeah, it was a little place called Mama Lou's in Marlton.
Okay. People probably remember Mama Lou's.
On West Broadway.
See, I get into Marlton too. There's a lot of shows that I've done there at various restaurants. I get to DJ at karaoke shows, but you actually know how to play instruments. That makes me a little bit jealous. I get a little bit jealous when I hear somebody can play, but I always give them respect, man. And I give you respect for being able to play for people and actually have them respond with gratitude. And so did you make any kind of a living doing guitar, or did you always have another job?
I always had another job.
That's a good thing to fall back on. You have more skills than just playing guitar. You got to put your hands in different pots to make it in this world.
Mama Lou's was 412 West Broadway, right there by United Motor.
Look at you. Put that on the walking tour. As people drive by that, they're going to say, "Ooh, That's what Jesse Huffman was talking about right there. Well, all right, man. I'm learning a little bit more about you. And you had a band. How long did the band last?
About 5 years.
5 years of good playing. What years do you think that was? In the 60s or the 70s? When was that?
85.
85. Okay. So you were, man, living free in your late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Having a good time playing music. All right. And so when did you happen to get married at this point, or when?
1973.
Married in 73. That's beautiful. And wife still around, or how was that meeting?
Well, we divorced after 10 years, and I've been married 4 times.
Okay, sometimes that happens. 4 times the charm.
Especially when you're a truck driver, and I've been single since 1987 now.
Okay, ladies, he's available. Yeah, I guess being a truck driver, you're away for a long amount of time. I know people that are in the, ladies that have, or either fellas that have ladies in the armed forces, or that have jobs that take them around quite a bit. It starts to get lonely at home. And was that the reason that things didn't work out?
Yeah, I was just always gone.
But now you're home, right?
Yeah, I'm home now.
So what do you do to keep yourself busy?
Karaoke.
That's great. Oh man, I got to start doing a karaoke show up there in the Jonesboro area so I can see Jesse Huffman and hear him sing it. I think the closest thing, I got the Searcy Country Club is about to hire me out. They were supposed to hire me out like in the next couple of weeks, but that's kind of far from you.
No, not too bad.
But
I can drive to Searcy and back for about $4.
Oh, see, I think that's on hold right now while we're all waiting this novel COVID-19 coronavirus.
Yeah.
That's going on right about now. And this, being a time capsule for the people as we record this in April of 2020, learning about the life of Jesse Huffman, how you came to be. But you don't just do karaoke; you still playing your guitar?
Yeah, I still play and sing. I just don't have anybody to play and sing with.
Oh, at this point, a lot of people feel you. Are you living home alone?
Yeah, I live here in Jonesboro at the Links.
Yep. A lot of people are feeling your pain, that they're living alone and they're kind of isolated, and they're, especially folks of a certain age. Once you get past, into your 50s and 60s, they start saying, well, maybe I should leave you and try not to get you any germs. And I mean, how are you taking care of yourself? Are people bringing you stuff, or are you getting out?
Well, I get out when I have to, and I work part-time as a delivery driver for a pizza company.
Oh, the man's still driving and is still feeding the people. So that's a job that's essential, man. You got a job delivering food, pizza in particular, but that's definitely an essential job. Are they using you more often now that people are locked up in their houses?
No, not as much.
Huh. I figured the pizza delivery would probably be one of the most things, that would be essential because, people can't get out of their houses, so they have to have food brought to them. Jesse Huffman, that's a good job to have right about now, I would imagine, but you say it's not.
I was working about 24 hours a week before the COVID-19 started.
Yep.
Now I'm working about 6 hours a week.
Oh, that can't be good at all. I think a lot of people are in the same boat, my man. I mean, are you at least sitting out on your front porch with your guitar and entertaining the people around you?
Nah, I ain't got no chair out there.
Is there a little clubhouse? Anything? Any place you can? I guess you're playing your guitar in your own living room, then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, how do you make your recordings? I know you have recordings on Reverb Nation. How did you make those recordings?
That was done in a truck cab in Cherokee, North Carolina.
All 5 of those songs were made in a truck cab?
Yeah, they were all made in a truck cab.
Man, they have a distinctive sound, but what was the recording device? You record them on your phone or something?
it was just a cassette player.
See, it's amazing, the sound that you can get in different places. I know people record things in their bathrooms, in their closets to get different sounds, because you don't have to go to a recording studio anymore. You get a distinctive sound in the cab of a truck. That's amazing to me, Jesse Huffman. Amazing.
That was recorded one night in 1987. I think it was 87. It might have been later than that. But at any rate, my nephew was with me on the truck. He was wanting to learn how to get around the country because he was going to start driving pretty soon. I had him with me, and we were in Cherokee, North Carolina. And in the original recording that I've still got, you could hear all the engines running in the background from a truck sitting around the truck stop idling.
Man, it's got a distinctive sound. It definitely does. If you get a chance, take a listen on Reverb Nation and just look up the name Jesse Huffman, Jesse Huffman. Oh, just amazing, man. And I've already added you on the Facebook, so I got people. Hopefully people will find you that way. I mean,
okay.
Are you still wanting to make recordings? What do you want to do with your music career?
I've got four albums ready to go. As soon as I can get somebody to run the phone to record them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, is there anybody in town that you know, or in Jonesboro that
we're just kind of holding off? We were going to do it in March, and we got disrupted by COVID-19, and we kind of pushed it back on the back burner for a while, waiting until all this gets over with.
Oh yeah, there is a horizon here. It will all get over with. I know in China they got in quarantine in January 23rd, if I believe right, and I think they've just started going back to work right about now. So that's about 3 months. And
yeah.
I think we got quarantined in March, the middle of March, March 23rd or something like that. So maybe April, May, June, we should be getting out on the streets and back to normal, hopefully.
Well, I know I work for Montio's Pizza Company here in Jonesboro.
Yep. Big shout out to Montio's. Hopefully you get back to work, get some good pizza to the people, and then get out in the karaoke shows. What karaoke show do you go up to up there?
I go to the Brick House.
Brick House in Jonesboro?
Uh-huh.
All right. Put that on the walking tour if you ever get a chance.
That's Thursday night at the Brick House.
Who's the KJ up there?
Andrew. I don't know his last name, but his first name's Andrew.
All right. We'll be looking for KJ Andrew up there at the Brick House in Jonesboro on Thursday nights. Yeah, big shout out for that, man. And maybe you could hear Jesse Huffman singing live just for you. I hope you get those recordings done pretty soon. Probably, I figure the summertime you could get out of the house and get into a recording studio of some kind. What's on the horizon for you? Any other avenues you want to explore?
Just some more gospel music.
How beautiful is that? You still getting to church?
Yeah, I still go to church.
Which church are you going to?
I go to the Stone Street Assemblies.
Stone Street Assemblies. Big shout out to them. Put that on the walking tour. If you get up in the Jonesboro area, you might check that out. Well, my man, I think you've told me a little bit about yourself. We'll get people to visit you on your Facebook and your Reverb Nation, and hopefully you get a little bit more airplay and action in your music career as time goes by. Any other things you want to talk about?
Just sing you a little bit of a song I'm working on.
Go ahead. Give the people a little bit of it. A little taste.
The wife, she said I couldn't dance, so I think I'll just sit here. I just stand here and sing. I think I just stand here and sing. I don't dance. I don't dance. I don't dance. I don't dance. I think I just stand here and sing.
Did you write that yourself?
Yeah.
That is beautiful, man. That is beautiful. Just sit here and sing. That's a good sentiment. Well, usually I finish these things off, Mr. Jesse Huffman, with last words for the people. You can give some words of advice, maybe a scripture, maybe something you live by, or maybe just whatever pops into your head. Jesse Huffman, give the last words for the people.
John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life.
Well, there you have it, party people. Jesse Huffman. Not just a regular guitar man. You get some old timey, some classic sound with Jesse Huffman. That little song that he sang at the end just sent chills up my spine. I enjoyed it. Country, rockabilly, old time rock and roll, old time gospel, primitive country. Amazing. The man's come through hardships and he's bringing his soul via the guitar and his country singing and his songwriting. Man, I look forward to hearing more from Jesse Huffman as time progresses. And you heard it, ladies. He is available. So find him in the Jonesboro area singing karaoke or delivering pizzas. Yeah, get out there and, be friends with Jesse Huffman. He's a good dude. He's a good guy. I'm glad you got on the program, Mr. Jesse Huffman. All right. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, follow What Makes You Famous social media. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Follow on Facebook at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Instagram at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Twitter at Makes Famous. And follow on YouTube at Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Famous podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Famous podcast on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and almost anywhere you find podcasts. Tell your story on my podcast, What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time. You can support What Makes You Famous using the PayPal link, paypal.me/KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Famous podcast is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Keys Dan. What you doing?
My line.
I'm playing the best music by request 24 hours a day. Click on the request tab at the top of RadioWhat.com.
RadioWhat.com.
Radio What, the music you want, with some great quotes. It is said that power corrupts, but actually, it's more true that power attracts the corruptible. The sane are usually attracted by other things than power. David Brin. The music you want, RadioWhat.com.